There's a subtle, almost ethereal quality that has long been ascribed to the female mind, often cast as a beautiful enigma, a labyrinth of intuition and emotion that defies simple logic. For centuries, across cultures, we've heard whispers of women being mysterious, complex, or even unpredictable, labels that, while perhaps intended to flatter, often serve to obscure a far deeper, more intricate reality. What if these surface-level perceptions are not truly defining characteristics, but merely the shimmering reflections of a profound, sophisticated system of thought that operates on principles rarely articulated, much less fully understood? What if beneath the veil of perceived emotionality lies the hidden logic of the female mind, meticulously woven tapestry of connection, foresight, and contextual understanding that, when truly seen, reveals not a deviation from logic, but an expansion of it, a richer, more comprehensive way of perceiving and navigating the world. Imagine standing before a vast, intricate clockwork mechanism. To some, it might appear chaotic, a dizzying array of gears and springs moving in seemingly erratic patterns. But to an artisan, someone who understands its inner workings, every movement, every subtle click and whir serves a precise, interconnected purpose. So it is with the female mind. What might appear as a sudden shift in perspective, an emotional reaction, or an intuitive leap, is often the visible manifestation of an incredibly fast, multi-layered cognitive process that integrates a vast array of data points, both explicit and implicit, conscious and subconscious, into a cohesive understanding that prioritizes harmony, long-term sustainability, and relational well-being. This isn't a lack of logic. It's a different, perhaps more holistic kind of logic, operating on a broader spectrum of human experience. At its core, much of this hidden logic stems from an ingrained, often subconscious emphasis on interconnectedness. From the earliest days of human society, and deeply influenced by evolutionary roles, women have often been at the nexus of family, community, and social cohesion. This isn't just a historical artifact. It's a biological and psychological imprint that shapes how information is processed and decisions are made. When a woman contemplates a choice, her mind rarely isolates the individual impact. Instead, it often instinctively maps out the potential ripple effects across her network, her children, her partner, her friends, her colleagues, her broader social circle. A decision isn't just good for me. It's evaluated through the lens of, what will this mean for us? This expanded field of consideration makes her decision-making process inherently more complex, more nuanced, and often more collaborative, even if the collaboration happens internally. This deep awareness of interconnectedness means that context becomes paramount. Where a linear, objective-focused logic might strip away extraneous details to arrive at a pure decision, the hidden logic of the female mind often embraces the context, seeing it not as noise, but as vital information. Every subtle nuance, every unspoken word, every nonverbal cue, every historical precedent, and every emotional undercurrent is absorbed and integrated. It's like a sophisticated algorithm that doesn't just analyze the numbers, but also the tone, the environment, and the human elements surrounding those numbers. This can lead to what is sometimes perceived as overthinking or indecisiveness, when in fact, it is a thorough, often exhaustive process of synthesizing a rich, multidimensional reality before committing to a path. Consider a scenario at work. A sudden, unexpected project arises with tight deadlines. A typical response might be to immediately strategize for task allocation and efficiency. However, a female leader, employing this hidden logic, might also be simultaneously processing the potential impact on her team's existing workloads, their current stress levels, the looming personal commitments of individuals, and the long-term morale should this new pressure be poorly managed. Her decision on how to approach the project won't just be about getting it done. It will likely also factor in team well-being, sustainable productivity, and preserving the relational capital that allows for future success. This isn't a distraction from the goal. It's a holistic approach to achieving it, recognizing that people are not just resources, but complex, interconnected beings whose emotional state directly impacts performance. This leads us to the re-evaluation of intuition. Far from being a mystical, ungrounded phenomenon, intuition in the female mind can be understood as highly accelerated, sophisticated pattern recognition. It's the subconscious processing of vast amounts of contextual, emotional, and experiential data, leading to a rapid insight, or gut feeling, that, while not immediately explainable through conscious logic, is profoundly informed. A woman might just know something feels off about a situation or a person, not because she can point to a specific logical flaw, but because her internal system has detected a multitude of subtle discrepancies. A micro-expression, a vocal tremor, a pattern of past behavior that collectively signal incongruence. This rapid synthesis, born from a lifetime of observing human behavior and social dynamics, allows for incredibly quick, often highly accurate assessments that bypass the slower, more deliberate steps of conscious analysis. This profound ability to integrate subtle cues, what we call intuition, is often cultivated and amplified by what might be termed emotional radar. From an early age, many women are subtly, and sometimes overtly, encouraged to be more attuned to the feelings of others, to be the emotional barometer of social interactions. This isn't just about empathy. It's about developing a sophisticated neural network dedicated to sensing, interpreting, and responding to the emotional states of those around them. This constant monitoring, this deep dive into the unspoken language of human connection, means that decisions are frequently made with an acute awareness of their emotional valence, how they will feel, how they will be received, and what emotional repercussions they might trigger. The hidden logic here is that emotional health and harmony are not secondary considerations, but often primary drivers in determining the rightness of a choice. Imagine a group decision being made in a family or a team. While one perspective might focus purely on the tangible outcome, the hidden logic of a woman's mind might simultaneously be assessing the emotional temperature of the room. Who feels unheard? Who might be silently resisting? What are the underlying anxieties that aren't being expressed? Her eventual input or decision might be strategically framed not just to achieve the objective, but to also address these unarticulated emotional needs, to foster a sense of inclusion, or to gently guide the group towards consensus. This isn't a deviation from the goal. It's an advanced form of social engineering, an intricate dance designed to ensure that the chosen path is not only effective, but also sustainable and agreeable for all involved. This deeply relational approach is often misinterpreted as being too sensitive or people-pleasing, when in fact, it is a powerful display of astute leadership and profound foresight. Another crucial aspect of this hidden logic is the emphasis on long-term sustainability and future-proofing. While immediate gratification and short-term wins might drive some decision-making, the female mind, perhaps influenced by its historical role in nurturing and ensuring the survival of future generations, often operates with a longer time horizon. A choice is frequently evaluated not just for its current impact, but for its potential consequences, weeks, months, or even years down the line. This might manifest as a greater propensity for planning, for saving, for risk mitigation, and for prioritizing investments in education, health, and foundational security. It's a quiet, persistent vigilance, a deep-seated understanding that today's actions cast long shadows into tomorrow. Consider personal finance. While anyone can make impulsive spending decisions, the hidden logic might manifest in a woman who, despite desires for immediate luxury, prioritizes savings for a child's education, for a secure retirement, or for an emergency fund, even if it means personal sacrifice in the present. Her decision to forego a fleeting pleasure is not simply an act of discipline. It's a strategic calculation, a deeply felt commitment to future well-being, born from a sense of interconnected responsibility and a long-term vision. This foresight, often unseen and unpraised, is a cornerstone of familial and societal stability, yet it rarely makes headlines or earns public accolades. Furthermore, the female mind often employs a form of multitasking cognition that is deeply integrated into its decision-making. This isn't just about performing multiple tasks simultaneously, but about processing diverse streams of information, both task-oriented and relational, emotional, in parallel. While making a complex work decision, a woman might also be subconsciously tracking the health of her children, remembering a friend's upcoming birthday, and planning the logistics for a household event. These seemingly disparate thoughts are not always distractions. They are often interwoven, creating a richer, more comprehensive context for the primary decision. The ability to hold multiple, often competing, priorities in mind at once means that her choices are often remarkably holistic, accounting for factors that a more singular focus might overlook. This intricate dance of parallel processing means that her logic often builds on layers of accumulated, diverse information. What appears to be an abrupt conclusion or an intuitive leap might, in fact, be the culmination of hours or days of subconscious processing, cross-referencing, and weighting of various factors that were never explicitly brought to conscious attention. It's like a supercomputer running multiple algorithms in the background, constantly updating its model of reality until a definitive answer emerges. The dark truth here is that this immense internal labor, this constant, almost invisible cognitive effort, often goes unacknowledged, leading to the misperception that her decisions are less reasoned or more spontaneous. This intricate, multi-layered processing, this constant dance between the analytical and the empathic, gives rise to a profound capacity for adaptability and resilience in the face of ambiguity. Where a purely linear logic might struggle when confronted with incomplete information or rapidly changing circumstances, the hidden logic of the female mind often excels. Because it is accustomed to holding multiple, sometimes contradictory, truths simultaneously, and because it inherently factors in the fluidity of human emotion and relational dynamics, it can pivot, adjust, and find creative solutions in environments that might paralyze a more rigid approach. It's like a complex biological system, designed to not just survive, but to thrive in unpredictable ecosystems, constantly reevaluating and optimizing its internal parameters based on incoming data, both overt and subtle. Consider a crisis situation, whether personal or professional. While the initial reaction might involve fear or stress, the underlying cognitive framework often defaults to an assessment that encompasses not only the immediate threat, but also the resources available, the emotional states of those involved, and the potential long-term implications for stability and recovery. The decision to act, or not to act, might seem to stem from a singular moment, but it's often the product of an incredibly fluid, iterative process that rapidly cycles through probabilities, human elements, and the most effective ways to restore equilibrium. This isn't just problem-solving. It's systemic problem-solving, where the system includes the entire human ecosystem surrounding the problem. Another fascinating, yet often overlooked aspect is the unique way the female mind often navigates ambiguity and uncertainty. In a world that constantly demands clear answers and definitive outcomes, The capacity to comfortably exist within the gray areas, to hold space for multiple possibilities without immediate resolution, is a powerful asset. This ability, perhaps born from centuries of managing complex, often unpredictable social and familial dynamics, means that women can sometimes be more patient with evolving situations, more willing to gather additional information, and less compelled to force a premature conclusion. What might be perceived as hesitation is, in fact, a deliberate, sophisticated strategy to ensure a more robust and well-informed decision, allowing the full picture to develop before committing to a single path. This comfort with ambiguity often fuels a deeper, more nuanced understanding of truth itself. It acknowledges that reality is rarely black and white, and that a solution that works for one person or situation might be detrimental to another. This nuanced understanding translates into decisions that are more flexible, more accommodating, and often more inclusive. It allows for a logic that is less about absolute certainty and more about optimal fit, recognizing that the best decision is often one that serves the greatest good across a spectrum of diverse needs and perspectives. This is the quiet wisdom that emerges from a mind accustomed to navigating intricate webs of human experience, understanding that life's most profound truths often reside in the delicate balance between opposing forces. However, this profound depth of processing, this constant integration of vast and diverse data, also comes with its own set of challenges, its own darker side that must be acknowledged. The immense cognitive load required to maintain this level of interconnected awareness can sometimes lead to decision fatigue, overwhelm, and a heightened susceptibility to stress. If every choice, no matter how small, is weighed against a multitude of potential ripple effects and emotional consequences, the sheer mental energy expended can be exhaustive. This is where the strength can, at times, become a burden, especially in environments that fail to recognize or support this complex internal operating system. When the external world demands swift, linear, and emotionally detached decisions, while the internal architecture is designed for holistic, interconnected processing, a profound disconnect can occur. This can manifest as self-doubt, as a feeling of being constantly behind or not enough, or as a struggle to articulate a decision that feels intuitively right but is difficult to justify through purely linear logic. The hidden logic, in these moments, becomes a source of internal conflict, a silent battle between the innate wisdom of the mind and the external pressures demanding a simpler, often less effective, response. The true genius of the female mind lies in its complexity, but it is precisely this complexity that can also be its most challenging aspect to navigate in a world that often favors simplicity. This internal battle, this profound disconnect between an intricate cognitive design and a world demanding linear simplicity, often leads to a phenomenon where the very strengths of the female mind are misinterpreted and weaponized. What is, in fact, an advanced capacity for holistic thinking, for considering the human element in every equation, is frequently dismissed as emotional, irrational, or overly subjective. The ability to detect subtle relational cues is labeled as gossipy or catty. The need to gather extensive context and weigh multiple perspectives is seen as indecisive or hesitant. This mislabeling is not just an inconvenience. It's a deeply damaging form of gaslighting, systematically eroding a woman's confidence in her own judgment and forcing her to second-guess the very wisdom that serves her so well. Imagine the subtle agony of a woman in a professional setting, having meticulously analyzed a situation through her layered, interconnected lens, arriving at a conclusion that feels profoundly right and considers every angle. Yet when she tries to articulate it using a language of emotion and relational impact, she's met with blank stares, or worse, condescending remarks about needing to stick to the facts or be less emotional. The invisible logic, so clear and potent within her, becomes inarticulate in a world that only understands a different dialect of reason. This constant struggle to translate her comprehensive understanding into a simplified, linear framework is not just exhausting, it can lead to a quiet despair, a retreat from sharing her insights, or a forced adoption of a more traditionally masculine communication style, suppressing her authentic voice in the process. This suppression, this conscious or subconscious effort to conform, comes at a profound psychological cost. When the mind is constantly asked to operate against its natural grain, when its unique strengths are devalued, it leads to a gradual erosion of self-trust and an increase in internal friction. Women might begin to internalize these external judgments, believing there is something inherently wrong with their way of thinking. This self-doubt can then spiral, leading to imposter syndrome, chronic anxiety, and a reluctance to take risks or assert leadership. Not because of a lack of capability, but because the mental burden of defending and translating their intrinsic logic becomes too great. The world, in its ignorance, loses out on the richness and depth that these unique perspectives could offer. Furthermore, this dynamic often traps women in a perpetual state of code switching. They learn to navigate the world by adopting different mental models and communication styles, depending on the context. In personal relationships, their innate holistic empathic logic might thrive. But in professional or public spheres, they might feel compelled to shed these layers, to present a more linear, less emotionally integrated persona, to be taken seriously. This constant shifting is mentally taxing, fragmenting the self and preventing the full, integrated expression of their intelligence. It's like being a brilliant polyglot, but only being allowed to speak a simplified version of one language, constantly holding back the full richness of your linguistic capacity. The dark truth also extends to the subtle ways this hidden logic can be exploited or misunderstood. Because it often prioritizes harmony and collective well-being, a woman might be perceived as naturally more agreeable or less assertive, leading to situations where her needs are overlooked, her contributions are minimized, or her boundaries are inadvertently, or even deliberately, crossed. Her deeply relational approach, which aims for win-win solutions, can be misconstrued as a willingness to compromise indefinitely, making her vulnerable to those who operate from a more competitive, self-serving logic. This isn't a flaw in her logic, but a vulnerability created by a systemic failure to understand and value its intricate workings. However, understanding these challenges is not an end in itself. It is the necessary precursor to true empowerment and mutual appreciation. By recognizing the hidden logic of the female mind for what it truly is, not a deviation from reason, but an intricate, highly advanced form of contextual, relational, and foresight-driven intelligence, we begin to unlock immense potential. This understanding allows us to move beyond superficial judgments and into a realm of profound respect and strategic leverage. It's about consciously creating environments where this unique logic is not just tolerated, but actively sought out, understood, and integrated for the benefit of all. This shift in perception is not just about valuing women. It's about valuing a more complete, more sustainable, and more deeply human way of navigating the complexities of our world. It's about acknowledging that true intelligence isn't singular, but magnificently diverse, and that the greatest strength often lies in the integration of different ways of knowing and understanding. The hidden logic of the female mind is not just a fascinating subject of study. It is a vital key to unlocking a more empathetic, effective, and harmonious future for everyone. This profound understanding, this journey into the hidden logic of the female mind, ultimately transforms from a mere observation into an urgent call to action. It's a call for systemic change, demanding that our institutions, our workplaces, our educational systems, and even our personal relationships evolve to truly embrace and integrate this nuanced way of knowing. This isn't about privileging one gender's thinking over another, but about acknowledging and celebrating the cognitive diversity that enriches human potential. When we create spaces where this holistic, relational, and context-driven logic can thrive, unburdened by misjudgment and misinterpretation, we unlock solutions to problems that have long eluded purely linear approaches. We begin to build a world that is not just efficient, but also empathetic, sustainable, and deeply connected. For individual women, this awareness is nothing short of revolutionary. It empowers them to shed the burden of external expectations and reclaim the inherent wisdom of their own minds. It's about cultivating radical self-trust, learning to listen to that complex, multi-layered internal processing, and valuing its insights. When the intuitive gut feeling is no longer dismissed as mere emotion, but understood as accelerated pattern recognition, when the consideration of relational impact is seen as a strategic advantage rather than a distraction, then a woman can stand in her power, making decisions that are not only effective, but also deeply authentic to her true self. This self-trust radiates outwards, allowing her to advocate for her perspectives with unwavering conviction, no longer needing to code switch or simplify her profound understanding. This liberation allows for a deeper and more meaningful contribution to the world. Imagine a world where female leaders feel fully empowered to bring their holistic, empathic, and long-term oriented decision-making to the forefront of global challenges, from climate change to social inequality, from healthcare crises to diplomatic negotiations. Their ability to see the interconnectedness of issues, to prioritize human well-being alongside economic metrics, to foster collaboration over competition, becomes an invaluable asset. This is not just a theoretical ideal. It is a practical necessity for navigating the profound complexities of our 21st century world, where simplistic solutions often lead to unintended, devastating consequences. Furthermore, by shining a light on this hidden logic, we foster greater understanding and appreciation across genders. When men come to understand that a woman's hesitation might be thorough due diligence, that her emotional response might be a critical data point, or that her intuition is often a sophisticated synthesis of information, walls of misunderstanding begin to crumble. It opens the door for more productive communication, more respectful collaboration, and a deeper, more profound appreciation for the complementary strengths each brings to the table. It's about moving beyond gendered stereotypes and into a space of genuine curiosity and mutual respect for the rich tapestry of human cognition. Ultimately, the journey into the hidden logic of the female mind reveals a fundamental truth. Human intelligence is far more diverse and magnificent than we have historically acknowledged. It shows us that there isn't one singular path to wisdom, one superior mode of thought, but a multitude of ways to perceive, process, and navigate reality. By embracing and valuing this inherent cognitive diversity, we do more than just empower one segment of humanity. We expand the collective consciousness, unlock new possibilities, and lay the foundation for a more empathetic, intelligent, and harmonious future for all. It's time to stop seeing complexity as a flaw and start seeing it as the profound, beautiful strength it truly is.